50 movies, 5 rounds, and some truly terrible descriptions. Today we're tackling more of the biggest hits in cinema history. Your job? Name the movie from a single sentence. From superheroes to musicals, how many can you get? Welcome everyone! Are you ready? Let's start things off with the type of movie where people love landing on one knee from a great height. Superhero movies. Starting things off with this one. A billionaire weapons builder has a change of heart after briefly experiencing consequences. Yes, Iron Man. Well, what did he think his missiles were used for? On to number 2. A sheltered islander leaves her perfectly nice home to fix World War I using optimism and a magic rope. That was Wonder Woman, and incidentally, she didn't fix World War I. Moving away from Marvel and DC for movie number 3, a clueless teenager buys a green scuba suit and decides to fight crime. This one is Kick-Ass. Great film. Next up we have an anxious high schooler begs a wizard to fix his messy social life and accidentally shatters the entire multiverse. That was Spider-Man No Way Home. Oops. Here's number 5. A farm boy moves to the city and suplexes some visitors through several office buildings. Yes, it's Man of Steel. He leveled half the city. Alright, for number 6. A group of convicted misfits listen to mixtapes and stop a blue man from stealing a shiny rock. Well, if you said Guardians of the Galaxy, well done. Here's 7 on our list. A rich guy trains with a ninja cult, then goes home to fight a guy wearing a burlap sack. Yes, another origin story. It's Batman Begins. I think some therapy would have been easier. Now for number 8. A king fights his long-lost cousin for the right to wear a catsuit. Yes, I know, another animal cosplaying superhero origin story. That was Black Panther. On to the next one. A cigar-smoking government employee files down his horns to hide his obvious daddy issues. Another indie comic hit, Hellboy. Rightio, and to bring the first round to an epic conclusion, a group of solo heroes are forced to share a movie because an adopted brother throws a tantrum over a glowing cube. Of course, it's the Avengers. Makes me a bit peckish for some shawarma. So that's the superheroes done. Time to swap the capes for sweatbands. Round 2 is sports movies, where the power of teamwork solves everything from institutional corruption to a severe lack of talent. Starting this round in the freezing cold, 4 Caribbean men travel to Canada to slide down a frozen gutter in a metal bathtub. It could only be Cool Runnings, couldn't it? Classic. Number 2 is an angry ice hockey player joins a golf tournament to save his grandma's house. Yes, Happy Gilmore. It taught us all that the best way to improve your golf swing is unadulterated rage. Up next we have an American corporation spends millions to prove its car goes faster than a fancy Italian one. That was Ford versus Ferrari. It was a midlife crisis for an entire company. Right, next one. A A drunk driver is made to babysit a group of uncoordinated children on frozen water. The correct answer is the Mighty Ducks. Well, I hope they got someone else to drive them to the games. Okay, number 5 is a classic. A bullied teenager does his mentor's household chores for several weeks. Wax on, wax off, that was the Karate Kid. Okay, let's see what you make of this next one. A couple of basketball players run a lucrative hustle based entirely on weaponized stereotypes. Yep, white men can't jump. I certainly can't. Number 7 is: a girl wants to kick a ball around a field while everyone she knows wants her to stop immediately. That one is Bend It Like Beckham, back when low-rise jeans were the height of fashion. Okay, moving on to 8. A man who slurs his speech runs upstairs and loses a boxing match. Well, that only describes Rocky, doesn't it? Okay. This next one sounds incredibly painful. A lazy gym owner fights off a corporate hostile takeover using a sport teachers invented to punish children. Yes, that one is Dodgeball, a true underdog story. As they say, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. And the last in this round is: two men who hate each other are forced to hold hands professionally. Blades of Glory. Ice skating, but they make it aggressively heterosexual. Bless them. So, moving swiftly on. It's time to don disguises and check the security feeds, because now we turn to the heist round. Good luck, everyone. We'll start with this. A man gathers 10 attractive friends to prove casinos are easy to rob if you're charming enough. Of course, that's Ocean's 11, a frankly unreasonable amount of jawlines, that film. Okay, on to number 2. Incompetent London criminals lose a massive diamond to a squeaky dog. Do you like dags? That was Snatch. Next up is: a retired car thief comes back for one final job and immediately tries to steal 50 cars at once. Yep, gone in 60 seconds. 50 cars, God, most people struggle to find their keys. On to 4 now. An FBI agent accidentally joins a surfing cult. The correct answer is Point Break. As undercover operations go, this one got very out of hand. Approaching the halfway mark, here is a proper classic for number 5. Tiny cars are driven through the sewers of Turin while a man shouts instructions at people who ignore him. You were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off? That was the Italian Job. Up next is: a getaway driver with an iPod obsession works off a debt to his boss by doing one last job several times. Yes, Baby Driver. Right. Our 7th heist is: 4 magicians commit felonies using the power of friendship and poorly explained CGI. Do you know? That was Now You See Me. Magic, crime, and absolutely no explanation for either. For our next criminal enterprise we have: a man walks into a bank vault, builds a tiny cupboard, and just sits there. It's Inside Man. Yep, that pretty much sums it up. Next we have two alpha males are emotionally obsessed with each other but refuse to admit it, so they settle for shooting up Los Angeles. Well, if you guessed Heat, you get the point. And completing the heist round with a total lack of realism, a family of superhuman mechanics drag a giant metal box through Brazil because subtlety died several movies ago. And that can only be Fast 5. I remember when those movies were just about racing Hondas. Well, now we come to the Oscar winners. Amazing acting, beautiful cinematography, and absolutely terrible plot summaries. We're going to start with this one. A teenager from the slums is grilled by police because he's suspiciously good at a televised pub quiz. Remember? That was Slumdog Millionaire. The police should have just let him phone a friend. Yep, I'll get my coat. For number 2 we have a man with writer's block invents fan fiction about himself and condemns English students for the next 400 years. Yes, Shakespeare in Love. Yeah, thanks, William. Up next is a man refuses to learn new technology and punishes himself by making a movie with absolutely no dialogue. That was The Artist. Okay. Number 4 then. A genius mathematician is bad at teamwork and spends decades on top secret government missions that don't exist. The answer is A Beautiful Mind, a truly heartwarming tale of severe, unmedicated psychosis. This next one is for anyone who hates public speaking. An eccentric Australian makes some nervous guy swear until he learns how to read a microphone properly. Yes, that could only be the King's Speech. Right. For number 6 we have racism is solved after a pianist hires a grumpy Uber driver. If you said Green Book, then give yourself a little point. Okay. 7 now. A poor family get jobs by lying on their CVs and discover that rich people are surprisingly easy to fool. That is a description of Parasite, the first non-English language film to win Best Picture, so there we are. Time for a weird romance. A mute cleaner falls in love with a fish and everyone around her just sort of accepts it. Yes, The Shape of Water. Don't say, if it doesn't work out, there are plenty more fish in the sea. On to 9. An exhausted laundromat owner gets audited by the tax office and accidentally shatters space-time with a hot dog. That was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, doing taxes can be like that. And for our final, incredibly long Oscar winner. After 3 hours, a bearded guy gets crowned, sings a song, and everyone just stands there awkwardly and watches. That reductive description is for Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. I loved it. And so we reach the final round. Real life doesn't have background dancers, but this round certainly does. It's time for musicals. Let's raise the curtains with this one. A girl enters a country and immediately kills a woman and then teams up with some local eccentrics to kill another woman. That is surprisingly The Wizard of Oz. She even takes the woman's shoes. Number 2. a boy has the audacity to ask for seconds and accidentally triggers a crime spree. That was Oliver. They say it's a slippery slope from porridge to pickpocketing. And now we have a billionaire adopts a loud, brash orphan who spends the whole time looking for parents she doesn't need anymore. Yes, it's a hard knock life. That one is Annie. Next is a writer in Paris falls in love with a woman paid to make men do exactly that, and is shocked it causes problems. Another musical with an exclamation mark, that is Moulin Rouge. Okay, number 5 in our final round is a teenager fights 1960s racism using dance moves and very committed hair volume. That one is Hairspray. Brilliant. This next one's for the relationship advice columns. A high school girl changes her personality, wardrobe, and core values just to keep a boy with greasy hair interested. Oh, Sandy, the answer is Grease. Number 7 then. A man steals a loaf of bread and spends nearly 2 decades being chased by an overreacting policeman. My French pronunciation is really getting a workout in this round. That was Les Miserables. So, on to number 8. A man invents show business by exploiting unusual looking people and calling it empowerment. The answer is The Greatest Showman. Well, the more things change, eh? Okay, the penultimate movie now. 2 stubborn artists choose their careers over each other, settling for a longing stare in a jazz club years later. That one is La La Land. They do get a brief moment of imagining what could have been, which is either beautiful or deeply cruel, depending on your mood. Oh well. And for the final terrible description of the quiz, we have a governess ignores the curriculum and just teaches children how to sing before fleeing over a mountain. Well, that pretty much sums up The Sound of Music. Am I right? And on that note, that is the end of the quiz. Let us know in the comments if you have any of your own terrible descriptions. Would love to hear them. We hope you enjoyed this quiz. If you did, a like is very much appreciated. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Until next time, cheerio.